Welcome to the Home Team Podcast. I'm Carl Falconer.
And I'm Danny Arroyo.
And we're tackling homelessness.
Today in our podcast, we will discuss two of our passions, football and ending homelessness. Please join us through 4 quarters with our topic this week being case management. So, how's your weekend? I haven't seen you in a couple of days.
I know, I was gone. Had a really interesting and good weekend. You can hear from my voice.
Sound a little sore.
A little bit deeper than normal. Yeah. And so don't get used to it, audience. This is not going to be my normal voice.
You got that
usually.
Barry White voice.
That's right, the Barry White voice, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I went to a Auburn game. My college football team went there. They lost, of course, in double overtime. That irritated me. But then went to a NASCAR race in Talladega.
Nice.
And I wanted to give a shout out to NASCAR because we did the NASCAR-a-thon, give-a-thon this last spring. And one of the things that they offered us was some free tickets to go to a NASCAR race. And I ended up going to Talladega for the NASCAR race.
Very good.
A great game, a great Auburn, going to see Auburn obviously was wonderful, but also wonderful race, wonderful experience. So shout out to them. What about you?
I had my brother in town from New York, so he came in, so we hung out on Thursday, then Sunday came over to watch football. I haven't watched football with him in forever. And Dallas was on TV, so we saw Dallas.
And they won.
And we're both Dallas
How about
fans.
that?
So we had a great time. Yeah, we had a really good time, and so he's leaving today, so sad to leave.
Wonderful.
But we had fun. We had a good time. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Wonderful. All right. Well, Danny, as we always do, going to start with the coin toss. So, Danny, call it in the air.
Let's do heads.
It is tails, so I'll start us off.
All right.
Welcome to our first quarter. I'm going to kick off by defining our topic of the week, and then we'll cover some news headlines and announce the results from last week's home team locks of the week. Case management is our topic, just to remind everyone. And here's the definition. Case management is a person-centered and housing-focused process that assists individuals and families experiencing homelessness in achieving stability, independence, and long-term housing success. It involves building a trusting relationship with clients, assessing their needs, developing individualized service plans, and connecting them to essential resources such as housing, healthcare, employment, mental health, substance abuse treatment, and benefits assistance. The goal of case management in homeless services is to stabilize housing first, then support clients in addressing barriers that led to or sustain homelessness using a trauma-informed and strength-based approach. So, obviously, we have a little bit of experience in this with case management. We have case management services here at Pathlight Home. I've been a case manager. I don't know if you ever did any case management.
That's the only thing I've never done. Yeah.
Wow. Case management is wonderful. I mean, that's where kind of the rubber meets the road. And the thing about case management, I think, for the homeless service system is this is really kind of the linchpin of anything. If you want to use our football analogies, they're the offensive and defensive linemen. They're the people that are in the trenches, don't get a lot of credit, but they're the ones who really make or break kind of your programs. If you have really good case management, there's a good chance your program is going to be really good. If you have really bad case management, there's a chance it's going to be a really bad program.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it in the offense and defense, kind of the positives and the negatives of case management. But yeah, again, our case managers here, we have some programs that we have case management that's mandatory, and then we also offer voluntary case management for those that need it who are in our regular market units. But I agree with you. There's some. I've been around for a while, so I've worked with a lot of case managers, and I've seen some of that good and bad. It's a hard job. It's a really hard job to. It's kind of like the outreach that we've talked about building relationships.
That's right.
Same thing with case management. You have to build those relationships for them to trust you and kind of make sure that you're following up and working with them and getting them where they need to be. So it's a difficult job.
Yeah, it can be tough, but it can be really, really rewarding.
Yes, it can.
When you get people into housing or keep them there it can be the best job in the world.
Yeah, I
honestly.
think some case managers I've worked with, just seeing them when they house people and how happy they are, just handing them their keys. It's a good feeling. It's a good even for the client, it's a good feeling when they're together. So yeah. All right, so now let's take a look at some of the headlines from the homeless world. So this week, the Florida Coalition to End Homelessness Conference is happening this week in Orlando. It's a great opportunity for providers to come together, share knowledge, and learn about new things that are happening in Florida. So we attended last year.
Right, we
This
did.
year, we sent some of our staff.
That's right.
And we will be presenting at one of the sessions for our Nobody Left Behind. So
Yes, absolutely.
Our outreach person and case manager will be presenting, so they're excited to do that.
Right.
But last year was a good conference. So I'm assuming this year is going to be just as good. But this is where all our providers and all our partners kind of attend to kind of just talk about homelessness. I mean, pretty much,
And
yeah.
I think it's a great opportunity. These conferences are great opportunities for people to share their knowledge, share their information.
Yeah.
You and I talked about, we went to the Texas homeless conference recently, and some people might be wondering, why would people from Florida go to the Texas conference? Well, they do things a little different there. We wanted to learn some of the new things that maybe Florida hasn't caught up with yet, or also talk to people there about things we're doing here in Florida that they might be able to use in Texas. And
Yeah, I think these conferences are really good for that. You learn from other agencies what's working for them, what's not. Are we doing similar things that's working, and how can we change our operations and how we do things internally? But yeah, I love these conferences. So
yeah, it's a great time to share, great opportunity to really get out there
and build partnerships, build more partnerships.
That's
which is really
absolutely
good.
right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
All right, so let's see how our Cowboys and Bears did this week. We had a good week other than the Auburn. Everything else was kind of good.
I agree.
So I will touch up on some of those. But
Yes,
my Cowboys played Washington. It was a division game, so we needed that win really bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had a great game. CeeDee Lamb was back, which was fantastic. So we won 44-22.
Ooh, put up some big points there.
We did, yeah. So Prescott threw for 264 yards. Javonte Williams ran for 116. CeeDee Lamb had 5 catches, but 110 yards. He had a 70-something one that he caught. So now we're 3-3, and then that darn tie.
That's right.
God, so.
That's hanging around.
Yeah. All right.
It could be useful, or it could hurt
it.
you.
And that's what me and my brother were talking about.
Either
Like
way.
it might screw us at the end, or it might be an advantage
That's
for us.
right, exactly.
Yeah. So next week we have Denver. On Sunday. So your Bears played the Saints?
Absolutely, we did, and we won again.
Yeah.
We're 4-2. How about that, Chicago Bears?
Very good.
I did not think at the beginning of the season at week 6 I would be saying the Bears are 4-2, or week 7 actually.
Right, week
we
7,
had our bye. That's right.
We got to listen to the second podcast to see how you were. To how your tone is a little different now.
It's totally different.
Yeah.
You're right about that.
No,
So
they had
we
a
won.
great game.
Yeah, we won 26-14, and we played the Saints, who are not the best team in the league. We get that. Next week's opponent, I think, is going to be a little tougher. The Bears, we're playing at Baltimore. We're playing the Ravens. And I think because the Ravens are just coming off of their bye, I think they're going to have a lot of their players back. And that's going to make it really challenging, I think, for Chicago.
Yeah, and like you mentioned before, they played the Saints. Not a good record, but a win is a win.
A win is a win.
So
We'll
take it however-
it.
take it however you can.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yes.
so, very good.
So that wraps up the first quarter. We will be back after this break.
Hey, this is Gigi Ramirez, Senior Director of Fundraising. As you know, homelessness affects us all. Our neighbors, our businesses, our community. Join Pathlight Home on November 6th for a place at the table at the Citrus Club. Together, we can create pathways to housing and hope. Get your tickets today at pathlighthome.org or contact us at 407-462-7286. Again, that's 407-462-7286 or email at gramirez@pathlighthome.org.
This is the second quarter. We're getting a little deeper into a homelessness topic with something we call offense versus defense. We'll each take turns discussing some opposing viewpoints of our topic this week. The statement that we'll discuss this week is, case managers provide the appropriate level of care to their clients. Please remember that we're trying to show both sides of the issue. These do not necessarily reflect our individual stances on these positions. So, Danny, you're up first. Again, the statement, just to remind everyone, case managers provide the appropriate level of care to their clients.
Sure. So my offense this week is it improved client outcomes when care is matched to the client's actual need, client services that are timely, relevant, and effective, leading to better housing stability, mental health, and overall well-being. It's more efficient use of resources, tailoring care levels to ensure that time, funding, and program resources are used effectively. Increased client engagement. Clients are more likely to stay engaged and follow through with case plans when they feel their needs are accurately understood. And we kind of talked about the importance of those good case managers and kind of not so good case managers. Prevention of burnout. By setting clear boundaries around care levels, case managers can manage their caseloads effectively. And I think we'll talk about caseloads and kind of what's appropriate. And then better data and reporting, consistent application of appropriate care levels, help programs collect accurate data, demonstrate outcomes, and maintain compliance with funder requirements, which that's something we're really big on here is collecting data and making sure that we are reporting out on the positive and maybe not the positive stuff. So
yeah, absolutely. All right, so those are the pros. Now I'll talk about the cons or what might be some negative things or not so positive things about case managers providing the appropriate level of care. In some circumstances, case managers hold on to people too long. I've seen programs where case managers are allowed to keep people on their caseloads even after the residents don't necessarily need those services any longer. Case managers are not needed for everyone. Sometimes people are put into programs because they need the housing support, they need other services, but case management they don't need. Unfortunately, they have to receive that case manager as well. Case managers discharge people for the smallest program violations, and this is one that probably irritates me the most. Is, it could be missing one appointment, it could be ignoring a case manager coming to your door, it could be any of those little things that they're discharged for. Case managers are not responsive. I've heard this from different people before. Clients sometimes say that their caseloads get too big or it's a time management issue and case managers aren't as responsive as they need to be. And then finally, case managers are not trained well enough. Sometimes it's a lack of resources or the need for constant assistance to one client versus the other clients they have, and that makes it a little bit harder for them to get trained well enough. So let's go ahead and let's discuss some of these points. Let me start with your offensive points. The one that really stood out to me as being maybe the most beneficial, but also maybe one of the most misunderstood is the better data and reporting. I mean, without case managers, programs really can't collect the data. They can't collect the information that's necessary to see whether the program's actually working well or not. Now, on the con side of that is sometimes case managers get too caught up in collecting data only, and they lose that whole personal touch of actually letting the client lead them in their case plan or whatever their individual plan is. They're more worried about the outcomes than they are about what the person actually needs. And so it's, back and forth. And I agree with some of your pros here in that, increased client engagement, of course, with case managers there, they get more engagement. They also help with those resources, as you mentioned before, efficient use of the resources. So some of these are pretty good, but I really like that better data and reporting.
Yeah, I think the data is so important on, again, the system we use, our COC uses, most of them use it. That's a way of like I tell my case managers, that's a history and a story of the person.
Right.
So if they go to get services somewhere else, you can see their kind of where they've been, where they're going, where they're struggling. It's so key to collect all that. You're big on data. So
that's right.
I think on your defense side, some of these discharging people for the smallest program, we've talked about this a bunch of times. It is extremely frustrating when, you don't want to be housed, I'm not going to work with you. No, that's not the mentality of a case manager.
Right.
It should be, okay, this didn't work. And you said the story about the person who got evicted 5 times.
That's right.
And they never gave up, right?
Never
they kept
gave up.
doing it, trying to get them in. So I think just for the smallest violation. And I think that's where the supervisor of the case manager come in and, those conversations of what's going on with your client, and okay, what do we do next? Don't just exit them. That doesn't make sense.
And that's where that training comes in,
Correct.
too,
Yep.
is really helping the case manager understand what their real role is. And I hate when I hear that, someone got discharged for this smallest violation or this smallest thing, because it just says to me, your case manager doesn't really know what their job is.
Yeah.
Their job is to try and keep you in the program at all costs.
Even discharging someone for a big thing is what are we doing for them next?
That's right.
Not just one and done. It's
That's
what
right.
are you doing next? Okay, they violated whatever they did.
That's right.
It was a big issue.
That's right.
But what are we doing next? It's not just go back in the street. It's
That's
what are the
exactly
options do we have? And I think case managers sometimes are in that moment of they have to go, but not what are the other.
And some of the things that I've actually seen in my experience has been when I was a case manager, I know one of the things that we really used to harp on and focus on is if someone wasn't working with me, if, for whatever reason they were violating the rules or they just wouldn't answer the door when I came there or whatever, sometimes we would change who the case manager was. We would keep them in the program, but realize, look, I'm not the best person to work with this person.
Exactly.
So let me hand them off to someone else on my team who's another case manager, and then let me take one of their people that maybe they couldn't work with as well. And so switching between that is perfectly fine. It's better than discharging someone from the program altogether and them not getting any services whatsoever.
Yeah.
So
I've seen instances in different places I've worked where there was a language barrier.
yeah.
And that just wasn't working, and we
That's
had to move someone over to, let's say, a Spanish-speaking case manager
Yes.
to better communicate, because that's just not going to work. If
That's
you
exactly
can't
right.
communicate, the client is going to get annoyed. They're not going to come see the case manager.
That's right.
Then you want to discharge them. So it's
That's right.
So it's kind of finding what their needs are and who the best case manager for that is.
That's right. And I think on both of these, offense and defense, the thing about case management is it is that fine line, is there's a balance between those things, the data collecting and keeping people in the program and making sure that they're individualized. Like I said, on the defensive side, the case manager holds on to people too long. Sometimes those relationships that they build with people just get way beyond a case manager and a client relationship.
Right.
And, they get too friendly with them or too personal with them or whatever the case is. And so I've seen, this fine line that goes between these two things.
Me too.
Between really good case management and what makes it more or less good, I guess, or bad case management.
Yeah, and the last one, just what we talked about, was the caseloads, is
Right.
how many a case manager can manage.
That's right.
And I think the higher that number, I think the less, I guess, attention that person is going to get.
Absolutely.
Which they're going to fall through the cracks, or they're not going to
That's
get
right.
the services they need or just the help that they need. So I think case managers struggle with that a lot, is the size of caseloads. And again, it's all because of resources.
That's right.
It varies on all that, but
Yeah, I call that the Disney model effect. One of the things that I love about Disney is they always have more people than they need, more staff than they need at everywhere you go in Disney.
Right.
You go into a store and there are 12 people there when they probably could be running the store with 6 people.
Yeah.
But Disney's all about that customer service, and they're like, look, we're not going to get caught up in our people not being able to give individualized service. And I think that's, if we could get to that level of scale with case management, I think it would be a whole different game in terms of case management.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
right.
And of course, Pathlight Homes position, what we think is with the appropriate training and level of support, case management is a valuable tool to help residents get into and maintain their housing. But again, we go back to that case management, we go back to the training, we go back to the level of support that they get, and we get all of those things.
We have made it to the halfway point, and during halftime, we want to take a moment for fan interaction and highlight an inspired quote related to housing and homelessness. So the first one is, let's start by hearing from our listeners. So first question comes from Maria. So how do you measure success in case management, Carl?
Ooh, wow, that's a good one. Ultimately, it just comes down to whether they can keep people in housing or not. That's the number one key. Now, I might add to that, because we just talked about this a little bit, I might add transitioning them on to not need case management.
Right.
A friend of mine once said, who works in the homeless service system, he said, Carl, why should we sentence people to a lifetime of case management?
Right.
I mean, Danny, you don't have a case manager, do you?
No.
I don't have a case manager.
Nope.
A lot of people in the world don't have case managers. And I understand that in our field, oftentimes people need a little bit of support and they need that system in place to help them for a little while. But the goal should be to wean them off of that and get them out into the world self-sufficient on their own and using natural supports out there. You know, that's what I would measure as success.
That's kind of that holding on to people too long.
That's right.
There has to be kind of a case plan of what the steps are, what the goals are, because you got to set goals for them, right?
Yeah.
For the clients to see when it's time to kind of wean them off and say, okay, good luck, I'll still be here.
That's right.
But I don't have to case managers
That's
at
right.
all. So, and it's harder for some people than others because they get used to their case managers. They get,
they do.
They rely on them heavily,
They do.
so to let them go, it's kind of hard. So, all right, the next one comes from Steven. What are the toughest barriers case managers face when helping clients secure housing?
In terms of securing housing, it's your regular things. I mean, affordability is always the biggest one. And honestly, I think with a lot of programs, that's why I see case managers holding on to people too long, is because it's not that they need the level of case management that's there.
Right.
It's that they can't afford any other housing. And unfortunately, in order to be in the program, or a lot of times the way our programs are set up, in order to be in the program, you have to receive that case management.
Right.
Even at a minimal level. You know, I've seen, where case manager visits once every 2 weeks or something like that, in that minimal level. But if there was affordable housing available, we'd be able to transition people a whole lot easier out of that. And so I think that's probably the toughest barrier. The other barriers obviously are things like identification and, making sure that people have all the documents that they need. And then the funding. I mean, application fees and the security deposits. I mean, trying to get people into housing nowadays is really expensive. I heard, I was at a fundraiser for another provider recently, and they talked about it taking sometimes $5,000 to get someone moved into housing. That's not even paying the rent regularly.
Yeah.
That's just getting someone moved in. Now, I think they were talking about a family in a larger unit and larger.
Just a little bit more money, but
a
still
little bit
a
more,
lot. Yeah.
but still a lot. I mean, that's just a lot of money for people to come up with to get in and
Right.
secure that
Yeah.
housing.
I mean, it's hard enough to come up with just a regular unit,
Right.
But then you think about this, and a lot of landlords, they want that security deposit. They want that, and that's okay. That's fine. But it makes it harder.
That's right.
To get someone in. So, I think I agree with you. I think the housing, of course, is the main barrier out of everything else that we want to move people in. With us here, again, it's a little easier because we have our own units and we're affordable. But yes, our program units come with case management. It is there for them.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely. It's time to get inspired by our quote of the week, Danny.
All right.
This one is an oldie but a goodie. The quote of the week this week comes from the Beatles.
Never heard of them.
You've heard of them?
Never.
Never?
No.
Never heard of them?
No.
Okay,
Are they new?
great. Yeah, a new group. And the quote this week is, "I get by with a little help from my friends." Hopefully our producer will, give us a little background music to go along with that. We'll see.
Yeah.
But anyway, and again, this fits in with that case management, Case management, the idea of case management is to be that support system for them and to do those types of things. So,
But not be their friend.
But not be their friend. That's exactly right. And so that leads me to my little short story. So when I was in charge of case managers, I was the director of the case management department, and I had case managers working under me several years ago. One of the things that we would do from time to time is we'd do surveys with our residents or our clients. And we had case managers go out and, survey people and things like this. Obviously trying to figure out, customer service and how well we're doing, all these different things. But one of the questions that I added to our survey was, who is your best friend? And it was interesting for case managers to come back and have written on their surveys that their clients said that they were their best friend. The case manager was their best friend. And I said, you're wrong.
That's wrong, yep.
I said, you're wrong. I said, they cannot be your best friend. I said, you are a professional who's getting paid to help these people, to support these people and get them and keep them in housing. But you should be moving them on to some kind of self-sufficiency where they can have friends out in the community. And again, it's that transition from relying on me as your case manager, as your only support system, to now building your own natural support system. And again, we don't have case managers, right, Danny? You and I, we don't have case managers, but we have natural support systems, We have spouses, we have family members, we have, groups that we hang out with outside of our homes.
Yeah. So, I agree. I think that, again, kind of what we discussed is that enabling and, it's clients hold on to you, and it is that you're doing a good job with them because they trust you and they want to work with you, but you have to draw that line of where it's professional, and once it becomes personal, it's going to cross a lot of issues.
That's absolutely right.
So, but I think it's just setting those boundaries with the client right away and say, I'm here for you for this, and this, but I'm not here for this, and this with you.
That's exactly right. Or to be here forever.
Forever, right.
That's not the goal here. The goal is to get you out and meeting other people in the community.
And I think that's what case managers should do, is start helping them going out to churches and going out to community events and just start meeting people and networking and just getting to know more people. And
that's exactly right.
It'll kind of make them forget the case manager eventually. So.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And Danny, I know this wasn't part of our segment, but I have a bonus story for you.
Okay.
I just thought of it off the top of my head as we're sitting here. This is a story of a gentleman who got into a program. He was kind of a big biker dude or whatever, the typical, stereotypical biker dude that you would see. Huge guy, wore leather all the time, had the beard, the tattoos, all this good stuff. So his case manager told him he had to start, getting involved in the community, and because they were trying to transition him out to do other things. And he went to a community center, so they took him to a community center and looked at all the activities that were there, and of all the things that he could choose, he signed up for knitting.
Oh,
knitting, right?
Okay.
So here's this big biker dude as he goes into this knitting group with all these older ladies, these, tiny older ladies sitting around knitting and all this stuff. And the cool thing about this was he knew exactly what he was doing, because when he went in there and he got in that group, all these little old ladies just surrounded him and loved him and just made him part of their community. The story goes, he never once knitted anything at the knitting sessions.
Okay.
But he also never had to prepare any of his own meals. They had meals for him, and they would come visit him and all kinds of stuff.
That's great.
And that's a great transition, and understanding what your needs are and what you need out in the community and getting those paired up is just absolutely, crucial to getting people out in the community on their own and getting those natural supports. But
definitely. That's a good one.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty good story when I heard that one as well.
All right. And that concludes our halftime. Please stay with us after this short message.
Hello, everyone. I'm Carl Falconer, the president and CEO of Pathlight Home. And I'm often asked by many in the community, what can I do to help end homelessness? I would like to invite you to join Pathlight Home's efforts. Pathlight Home is a 501c3 nonprofit organization in Central Florida. We currently have 560 units of housing that we provide to individuals experiencing homelessness. But we also provide additional support through employment resource centers and mental health services. We have a drop-in day center where people can come in from the heat, do laundry, get meals, all in preparation to get them into housing eventually and off the streets. Community involvement is key to the success of our efforts, and we love when community members want to get involved with Pathlight Home. There are 3 things we invite you to do to help. Number 1, consider supporting us with funding. No donation is too small, and every dollar has an impact on our community. You can go to pathlighthome.org and click our donate button to contribute anytime. Number 2 is volunteering. We love to have volunteers come in and help us with any of our projects. We have ongoing projects and needs, but are also open to individuals and groups sharing specific talents in ways that build up our residents. Number 3 is take a tour with us. Come here to our facility and see what we do for yourself. It's the best way to get an inside look at what we're doing at Pathlight Home each day. We think it's important to understand the work it takes to fight homelessness and love the opportunity to meet community members who are passionate about the issue. We love our Central Florida community and are grateful every day for the continued support. And again, to get involved, go to pathlighthome.org. Thank you.
All right, it's now time to kick off the third quarter by highlighting the goodwill and good works in the NFL community, looking at how our local football teams fared, and announcing our NFL home team locks of the week. So this week's Spotlight of the Week goes to NFL Hall of Famer Patrick Willis, traded to the Gridiron for a dining room as he teamed up with Pepsi and San Francisco 49ers to provide free meals to fans and residents at Delancey Street Restaurant. The former 49ers linebacker was met with cheers and admiration as he greeted fans in the heart of the city, serving burgers and sodas while sharing messages of inspiration with those rebuilding their lives through the Delancey Street Foundation Rehabilitation Program. There is no place like the Bay Area, Willis said. Maybe I'm a little biased. This is where I spent my whole professional career, and it's love. It's love here. And so to be able to come here and to receive the 49ers love, to receive the love from Delancey Street residents, it's really special. Delancey Street Restaurant is staffed and operated by individuals participating in the Foundation's residential program, which offers a second chance to those overcoming addiction, homelessness, and incarceration. It's more than a restaurant, Willis said. It gives people a second chance at life to turn around and be positive.
Yeah.
So I looked up the Delancey Street Foundation and read up on a little bit on them. They do a lot of good stuff.
They do a lot.
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with the Delancey
Oh, you are?
Street.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I never heard of them. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They're a huge organization. They do really, really great stuff.
Yeah.
They do. They give really, really good opportunities to people, whether it's restaurants. I think they have a moving company. They have a security company.
Yeah.
I mean, they've really developed this is a nonprofit that really developed into kind of a for-profit business to feed their nonprofit organization.
And they're in different states.
Yeah,
They're not
absolutely.
It's not just San Francisco, but yeah, I think it was great that he's giving back. And again, like I said, they always give back where they're at.
That's
and then
right.
They go back home, but
They do.
He's doing great. Yeah.
And Patrick Willis was a fantastic player. I mean, he really was. He was a great player for the San Francisco 49ers. So it's really great to hear that he's giving back and part of that.
Yep. All right, Carl. Fantasy football player.
All right, we're not laughing anymore,
No,
Danny. We're not laughing anymore.
I saw it. I was like,
that's
dog,
right.
nothing to make fun of now.
Exactly.
All right,
My fantasy football player pick of the week last week was Justin Herbert, the quarterback for the Los Angeles Chargers. They played Indianapolis. He was expected to get 18 points. He got 33 points.
Very good.
Danny,
Yeah.
just like I said he would.
Yeah, very good.
I called it.
You're 1-4.
Just like he said.
1-4.
Hey, we won't talk about that. I'm 1-0 this week.
Very good.
1-0 this week.
Hey, he had a good game.
Exactly.
He had a very good
great
game.
game.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, he did. This week, my fantasy football player for next week is Josh Jacobs. He's a running back for Green Bay. They're playing at Pittsburgh. He's expected to get 14 points, and if Green Bay wants to win, I really think that he's going to have to overproduce that. Pittsburgh's been playing at a pretty high level offensively. I know defensively they kind of slacked a little bit this last weekend. Cincinnati beat them. Joe Flacco moved to Cincinnati and then beat Pittsburgh there after beating Pittsburgh in Cleveland earlier. So,
How's Josh Jacobs doing so far this year?
he's not doing too bad. Again, he's expected to get 14 points, so that's a little higher than normal for most fantasy football players. But But he's doing pretty good. So I think he's going to have to outproduce it, though, against Pittsburgh.
You did good. Now we're going to look at our local football teams to watch. So, Carl, our teams did really, really well this week.
Yeah, they did.
So I'm going to let you go and talk about Jones.
Yeah, Jones High School. We played Waukeeva, and we beat them 56-0. I don't think Waukeeva was quite the competition we were looking for. But that makes us 6-2. In Florida, we're number 40 ranked, and in Orlando, we're still number 2 ranked. So Jones is rolling, and it's almost getting to playoff time. So we're almost ready to roll right into the playoffs. Hopefully, there's a championship in our future this year.
Yeah.
Our next opponent is versus Lake Region. So Jones High School versus Lake Region next week.
Very good.
And on to Boone.
Yeah, so Boone played Colonial. We won 58-0.
Oh, had to beat us.
Not Shine Jones, but 50. I called them during the game. I was like, we need 2 more.
We need 2 more.
So
Okay.
do a safety or something. But yeah, we're 58-0. We are currently 8-0, so we haven't lost this year.
Rolling.
Yeah, we're actually 44 so far in Florida rankings, and we've moved up to number 9. So we're chasing
you're
you guys.
Closing in on us, absolutely.
Yeah, so I was looking back at when we first started where the rankings were.
Right.
They're just shooting up like really fast.
Yeah.
So they had a great game. So this week they are playing Freedom High School. Never heard of the school, but
no, I haven't either.
But yeah, Freedom High School, and they're playing on the 24th. So now we're going to look at the locks of the week, predicting the home team to win each week. So, Carl, you had Indianapolis versus the Chargers?
Yeah, I had the Chargers at home versus Indianapolis. Unfortunately, they did not come through for me. Indy won that game 38-24, so that takes me down to 3-4 on the season.
All right.
Danny, I think you had a little better luck.
Yeah, it was the Texans at Seattle. I picked the Seattle Seahawks just because somebody I know loves that team and was like, you never picked them. I was like, I'll pick them for you.
There you go.
So she's happy right now with that, but she's sad that the Mariners lost in baseball.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I'm 5-2 right now. So that's my.
You're rolling, Danny.
I know. I've had some good weeks.
Yeah.
So then your week's selections.
Yeah, my selection this week. Danny, I got to do it. I think after a 4-game winning streak, I think Chicago is ready for a loss probably this week. We're going to Baltimore. As I said earlier, Baltimore, I think, is going to get back a lot of their players this week, and I think they're going to be really, really hungry for a win. We've been on a streak now. We're 4-0 for our last 4 games.
I think I'm questioning your loyalty now.
No, I just
but it makes sense.
Looked at the game and I'm
sense,
like, I think this is a trap game for us. I think we're feeling a little bit too good about our team, and I think Baltimore really needs this win. If they lose this game, they could be risking not making the playoffs at all.
And that's my Super Bowl pick, so they better win.
Yeah, exactly. What about
they've been
you?
having a rough week, rough season. So I have your nemesis, the Packers, against the Steelers, and I am picking the Steelers.
I love that pick, Danny. I love it. 6-2. That's what I'm hoping.
6-2.
Good pick.
So again, that's my dad's favorite team as well. So I'm catering to the people that listen to us.
There you go. Good.
Yeah, so I picked the Steelers.
Wonderful.
So we'll see.
All right. Well, stay tuned for our wrap up after this message.
Hello, I'm Gigi Ramirez, the Senior Director of Fundraising and Engagement here at Pathlight Home. For over 30 years, we've helped more than 8,000 people transition from homelessness to hope. But when someone moves from the streets to their own home, they often have nothing. That's why we provide immediate essentials, everything from bedding and food to soap and cookware, to help them truly feel at home. Beyond housing, Pathlight offers career training and supportive services, like our 12-week culinary program, helping residents gain skills, find jobs, and rebuild independence. You can be part of the story. Volunteer your time, donate essential goods, or become a monthly Pathlight hero, ensuring every neighbor has a chance to thrive. Visit pathlighthome.org to donate today.
Welcome to the fourth quarter, where we will wind down this episode by reflecting on a homelessness MVP and fumble of the week before wrapping up with our key takeaway.
All right, so I'll start it with the MVP of the week, the homelessness MVP of the week. As we mentioned, the Florida Coalition to End Homelessness Conference is going on this week. So our MVP of the week is Gregg Colburn. He is the co-author of the book Homelessness Is a Housing Issue. I actually got to meet Gregg when I was in Asheville, North Carolina.
Nice.
He's fantastic, great guy. He's speaking this week at the Florida Coalition to End Homelessness Conference, but also he agreed to speak to a small amount of community leaders here in Central Florida at the request of the Homeless Services Network.
Nice.
So Gregg is great. I mean, he does, speaking engagements. He goes to conferences. Ever since I've written that book, he's been out there really not even highlighting his book, but really trying to educate people about what the causes of homelessness are.
When did that book come out?
It came out a couple of years ago. I want to say 2023, maybe 2022, somewhere in there. It's fairly new.
Okay.
Yeah. This is one of the newer works on homelessness and housing. So, using rich and detailed data, this groundbreaking book, as I said, Homelessness is a Housing Issue, explains why homelessness has become a crisis in America and reveals the structural conditions that underlie it. In Homelessness is a Housing Problem, Gregg Colburn and his co-author Clayton Page Aldern seek to explain the substantial regional variation in rates of homelessness in cities across the United States. In a departure from many analytical approaches, Colburn and Aldern shift their focus from the individual experiencing homelessness to the metropolitan area. Using accessible statistical analysis, they test a range of conventional beliefs about what drives the prevalence of homelessness in a given city, including mental illness, drug use, poverty, weather, generosity of public assistance, and low-income mobility, and find that none of those things explain the regional variation observed across the country. Instead, do you want to guess what it is that determines
housing?
It's housing.
Housing. Yeah,
Exactly.
of
It's the housing market conditions, such as the cost and availability of rental housing. That's the only thing that accounts for the differences in homelessness across the country. And to Gregg's credit, he has spent time since the book came out speaking to communities throughout the country. He is also a huge fan of the Washington Huskies football team. When I met Gregg, I got to meet him in Asheville, North Carolina. He was talking about Michael Penix Jr., the quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons now, who is leading his Huskies to the championship game for the NCAA. Unfortunately, they didn't win. But he is a huge fan of the Washington Huskies and just an all-around great guy. Gregg's wonderful, but it was really great hearing his presentation. If you ever get a chance to hear it or read his book, it's fantastic because it really does do a deep dive data analysis of all the things that people think cause homelessness.
Yeah, exactly.
And what they find is from place to place. They, an example of that is they talk about, I think in his presentation he did previously that I saw, he was talking about Alabama, right? Alabama has some of the highest rates of poverty in the entire country, but there's very little homelessness. And the reason is because rents are low and affordable housing is available in Alabama. Right. And so it doesn't make any sense, though, that the poorest people would not have the highest homeless rates. Right. But it's true. It's true. In some of the poorest areas, homelessness is the lowest because rent is low. People can't afford anything else.
Yeah, I think if you're talking about homelessness and you're not talking about housing, it doesn't...
there's no sense in it.
Yeah, if you're going to talk about all these other things, mental health, and you still have to. Housing is the key thing.
Absolutely.
Without that, we can't address all the other things.
No.
If we're not working with people to get them housed.
Absolutely. So that's our MVP of the week, Gregg Colburn.
Yep. So now on to our fumble of the week. This week is a Beverly Hills man was arrested in federal fraud cases involving the misuse of public money earmarked for California's homelessness crisis, prosecutors announced. Federal officials held a press conference Thursday morning to announce the charges, with representatives from the FBI, the IRS, and the U.S. Department of Justice speaking at the U.S. courthouse on Spring Street. Accountability for the misuse of billions of tax dollars intended to combat homeless starts today, said Acting U.S. Attorney Bill Esali, I guess. Charges have been filed against Cody Holmes, 31, the former chief financial officer of Shangri-La Industries. Holmes faces mail fraud charges after allegedly submitted fake bank records and balance sheets to the state housing department to obtain nearly $26 million in grant money as part of Governor Gavin Newsom's Project Home Key initiative, which turns old hotels into transitional housing for the unhoused. That money was intended for projects in Thousand Oaks, Redlands, and King City. According to the federal complaint, Holmes claimed Shangri-La and its affiliates held about $160 million in available funds. My God, that's a lot. Yeah. Prosecutors say those accounts never existed. Instead, Holmes allegedly funneled millions into personal American Express accounts to fund purchases at luxury retailers. Holmes was arrested Thursday morning. Asali said the FBI and IRS criminal investigation are leading the probe. Holmes faces up to 20 years in prison if convicted. And
this is what gives our industry such a bad name.
Yeah.
Is things like this where people are using money that's intended to provide housing and services to individuals experiencing homelessness and then funneling it to other things. Look, we deal in large amounts of money on a regular basis.
Right.
I mean, we have capital projects that are happening right now here that are millions of dollars worth of things. And we have to be accountable, and we have to make sure that we're doing the best and being as efficient as we possibly can with all of the dollars that we get, because we need every single penny to be able to go to that housing and those services. Right. And to see this and this be wasted by, someone funneling it to, advance their lifestyle basically and, do that, it's criminal.
Yeah, that's just that just gets me mad.
Yeah,
just seeing someone take advantage of the system and take advantage of, and now taking advantage of people who don't have anything, who are trying to get something, and just it's not good. So
yep, absolutely.
All right.
And finally, here's our key takeaway for this episode: the number one thing that keeps people from becoming homeless is a good community support system. Whether it's a professional support system like case management or a natural support system, it can and will keep people housed. I know a lot of people, the one saying, and I think we've talked about this in one of our previous episodes, you're 1 week away from being homeless, one paycheck away. The reality is that most people aren't 1 week away or one paycheck away, and that's because they have support systems. But people who don't have support systems or stable support systems in place, they really are on the verge of becoming homeless, regardless of your paycheck or regardless of whatever. If you don't have a good support system in place, there's a real good probability or possibility that you could become homeless almost any time that you're out there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's something we do well here is if we see someone struggling or someone having some type of crisis that they might lose their housing. You got to talk to us so we can jump in and try to fix it for you. And if we don't have the resources, we go out and find it somewhere else to help you. Again, we don't want anyone living here to go back out on the street.
Correct.
Right? And then someone from the outside coming in who's just needing assistance, we help them as much as we can. But again, if we don't have the resources, we have multiple partners and people we know that we could just make a phone call. And we get phone calls as well, right, of people asking us, hey, we don't know what to do with this person. Can you provide some services? And we can. So it's all a partnership, and it's all working well with other agencies and the community.
And again, it's that case manager that's that linchpin.
Yep.
Because once people start to, spiral or start to, something bad happens or whatever the case is, that case manager stepping in, providing that little bit of support to them.
Right.
It's like your best friend or your family or, or whoever, your pastor or your community people, giving that little support for you to get you through it and then trying to get you beyond it to other natural supports.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so that concludes our episode for the week. Remember, if you have any questions or comments for us, please email us at questions@pathlighthome. And as always, we leave the last words for our beloved co-founder, the late Reverend Fred Maxwell.
I'm still dreaming that we will become able and sufficient to increase the housing of homeless. This is merely a beginning.